Hello everyone, I am the Canadian Gaming Penguin. Today we'll be talking about creating your first character in Final Fantasy XIV, and the information that you will be wanting to pay attention to. If you're like me, you may be happy to know that as you download the game, you can start the character creation process. I find this fantastic because I like to customize the appearance of my characters, and this way I can start playing the game as soon as the game is ready to play. Once you're done with customizing your character, make sure to save the design. To begin, as you can see, we are on the character creation screen. If you're on the trial version, it will look a little bit different in that you will not see Hrothgar or Vera on the right because these are races that are available with the Shadowbringers expansion. Before you get too disappointed about not being able to choose them, there is a potion that can be used to change your character's appearance, including race. I will include more details about this potion in a bit. Alrighty, now to create your first character. As you can see, we have 8 different races in the game. Here, Elizin, Lalafell, Mikote, Rugadin, Aura, Hrothgar, and Vera. Each of these races also have 2 different clans. For example, if we select here, and hit the confirm button there, we have Midlander and Highlander. One thing I will note with your race selection, as you can see in the description, as we look at Midlander here, the starting attributes, and then Highlander, we can see that there is a bit of a difference. But these are not important. Once you've chosen your race and clan, in this case I'm going with Lalafell because these potatoes are super cute. Yes, there is a nickname for Lalafells as Potato. Don't ask. Moving on. I won't go into details of how each of the customization features work, as I'm sure you'll be able to figure that out yourself. But there is a few things I will point out. Most of what I'm going to say will apply to those that are using a keyboard and mouse, and I'm not sure of how it works if you're using a controller. To zoom in on your character, use the scroll wheel. Alternatively, you can also use the page up or page down on your keyboard. To rotate the camera, use the left mouse button, click and drag. To rotate your character, use the right mouse button. Again, click and drag. On the bottom right, you'll also see these options: pose, attire, and environment. The pose will have your character. If we select standing, it'll be unique, view your character in a standing pose, and view your character performing various actions such as emotes. And so you'll see the first one is actually having our Lalafell looking around. And the race attire here will show the default race attire. So in this case, this is the attire for Lalafells, particularly female ones. And then the job option is currently grayed out, and you'll be able to see this later on. And then Small Clothes has them in their, well, small clothes. The environment will show your character, as we're doing a little dance here, in various locations throughout Eorzea, the world of the Final Fantasy XIV, and you can see the view of the character background on ethereal background, or view your character on the sunny Lenosian coastline, view your character in the forest of the Black Shroud, view your character in an arid desert of Thanalin, and view your character in a Gridanian residence. I usually stick with the default one unless I'm testing colors, and then I usually go with this. And then I twist the camera around to actually show the lighting, which is why I'm showing you those options. Now, I've already done the customization that I want, and I have a saved feature, so I'm actually going to go back out of the screen and load up my saved design. And I actually have the character already created too, but so if you do want to back out and hit the quit button there and quit character creation and lose all progress, okay. So I click create new character, load appearance data. And you can see here I have little notes of, as I get confused by my notes. So we see my notes here. And here's my Lalafell female, or YouTube, because it's easy. And there you go, that's my Lalafell. And there is one more thing that I would point out, is the voice selection. Your character does not speak in the game, so you are going to want to make sure you pick a voice that doesn't drive you bonkers with the sounds, because that's all you're going to hear your character make. And as I demonstrated there, yeah, that totally fits this, yeah. As I demonstrated there, you can see the different voices and such. Alrighty, and so just assuming you are fine with this, so you can confirm that if you want. Just confirm on that, save the parent's data, and I'm going to go with a no, and you can see here we have a specify your character's date of birth, and if you click on this, you'll see a drop-down menu. There is 12 of these, so effectively it's your equivalent months, if you will, of Earth days. So we'll go for the 5th month, the 25th day, for no particular reason. Couldn't be because of birthdays or anything like that. Anyway, so you hit confirm, and then you move on to the select your character's patron deity. In each of these you can either click on or just mouse over. As you can see, the details change. And this doesn't have any effect in the game, nor does your birth date. The game used to have attributes where one would be stronger or weaker against certain elements, such as being strong against water or lightning. This was removed some time ago, thus this is mostly for being in character now. So we'll just pick a random one there. This next part of this is choosing your starting class. But before I get into that, if later on you're not happy with the appearance of your character, there are Fantasia potions that can be used to change your character's appearance. That includes race selection and voice. You will receive a free Fantasia potion after you have completed the main story quests for A Realm Reborn, which is the base game. Specifically, the Ultimate Weapon main scenario quest is the one that you will need to complete. Fantasia potions are also available for purchasing in the Mog Station. Now to get into the class selection, and there is some information that you'll want to pay attention to. For example, as you can see on the bottom left, as I select Gladiator, actually it's already defaulted there, Ul'dah is the starting city. If I move to Archer, it will show Gridania, and it gives us a description of the city as well. And if I move to Arcanist, it'll show Limsa Lominsa. There is a slight difference in the opening sequences for each of these city-states, and the initial storyline is slightly different. Most of these quests are more of an introduction to the game and to the initial storyline. Thus, the variation of quests is mostly due to the lore that surrounds the city that it's in, and the difference is not important. The main scenario quests will be the same once you reach the It's Probably Pirates quest at level 15. If you are interested in seeing the differences, you could always create another character to see them, or find a YouTube video of them. If you are interested and can't find a video, let me know and I can make one to show the differences. With this said, these are where each of the classes begin. Gladiator, Pugilist, and Thaumaturge all begin in the city Ul'dah. Conjurer, Lancer, and Archer all begin in the city Gridania. Marauder, Arcanist, begin in the city Limsa Lominsa. Alrighty, and now to choose where you're going to play. That is, which data center. A data center is located in various different places around the world. In North America, we have 3 data centers. Now, it's already selected Crystal for me because when you first load up a game, it will have a data center selected for you. If you happen to choose the wrong one, then you can go back to the starting menu. There's a data center button to click and then choose the one you prefer. And the reason why you will want to pay attention to this is because you should probably play near your geographic region. And I highly recommend doing this because you'll likely have a better experience with playing the game, both with the technical aspect and for playing the game in general. For example, if I were to play on a Japanese data center, might find myself struggling to communicate with other players as I am not fluent in Japanese. I may also find difficulty in doing various game content because there are not many players online at the time that I'm playing. Mostly because it would probably be in the middle of the night for them, while it's the middle of the afternoon for me. Hence time zone differences. In terms of the language barrier, there is an auto-translation feature in the game that can be used, but it's not 100% perfect, so your experience may vary. As for the technical side, you may experience slower loading times or laggy gameplay if you're playing on a data center that is not near your geographic region. That said, if you have friends on a different data center, then that may be something you'd like to choose. Basically, choose what is best for you. If you find that you're having gameplay issues, there is an option to transfer your character, or if you're not too far into the game, you may just want to create a new character. Each data center is subdivided further into servers. For example, on the Crystal Data Center, I play on the Marlborough server. Each server on a data center is able to use a world visit system in the game. I won't get into details of how this works in this video, but I will explain the basics of what this means. If I was playing on Marlborough and my cat Callie decides she wants to play, don't question my example, she could totally play. No, I'm not crazy. If Callie the cat wants to play and starts on the Quarrel server, and I'm on the Marlborough server, one of us can use the world visit system to visit the other server and play the game together. Woohoo! One thing to keep in mind with the world visit system, there are some restrictions on what you can do while there. For example, I would not be able to join a free company, also known as a guild in other games, more on that in a future video, if I was on the Quarrel server because my server is Marlborough. Likewise, Callie the cat would not be able to join a free company on Marlborough. One other thing to note with the data center selection and then thus the server, you may find a server congested and you will be unable to create your character. I recommend waiting 10 to 15 minutes and try again, as sometimes it is simply because there are too many players online at the same time. If you are unable to join after some time, you could just create your character on a different server, and then once you can, request that your character's homeworld, aka your starting server, be changed through the MOG station. If you are on the trial version, you will not be able to do this as you cannot access the MOG station. If you see here, there's an update here, so obtain updated world information. This feature can only be used once every 3 minutes. So to refresh, as you can see, for example, this world is not accepting any more new characters. You may either wait for the restriction to be lifted, or you may select another world. If we refresh this, obtaining the world list, it still has that as not available, but after a while, or in a time period where there's probably less likely people, so that'd be like early in the morning or late in the evening. Now, finally, moving on, time to select your character name. This may take a while as you may find that a name is already in use on that server. I've already created a character, so I'll log into the game with this character. Once you click on OK, the game will begin with an opening cutscene. We'll see you on the other side. And that was your first cutscene. Did you like it? And I hope you figured out how to navigate the text. As you can see, if you did have problems on the bottom right here, there'll be a little bouncy icon. Basically that's saying that's text that you need to progress yourself. Some text will progress and it'll have a kind of like a loading symbol. If you would see, like if you're on Windows, you have that loading screeny ring. There'll be something similar to that in the bottom right as well, as if it is something that isn't progressed by you. Anyways, so once you're out of that, you will see you are in a tutorial area, and I'm obviously in Ulda, so my area will look different. If you're in Gridania, you'll have your Gridanian foresty area, and in Limsa you'll have your building type area, kind of port-ish, water-based area. How do you describe Limsa? Well, it's a port town, effectively, because it's filled with pirates. So, yes, that's the lore behind Limsa. Anyway, so now we are in a tutorial here, and it begins with saying, welcome to Ulda, or Gridania, or Limsa. In this case, the shining beacon of prosperity rising from the deserts of Thanalan. Please select the control scheme you wish to use. In this case, select a control scheme, and of course I'm going to use mouse and keyboard because that is in fact what I'm going to use. And if you're on a controller, obviously you'll have a controller. You can also use a mouse and keyboard. And this is something that you can change later on, so don't worry about selecting the wrong one or the right one or changing your mind. And for this, as it shows, now it shows me the basic controls, follow the instructions to move your character and adjust the position of the camera. As you can see, to move your character, you have the WASD. W moves forward, A to the right, or the left, I knew that. D to the right, S backwards. The left and the right mouse buttons to adjust the camera. And the scroll wheel will have the auto run, or alternatively the R button by default. And as you can see, it says the turn character and move character as well. And you can also disable all active help windows. I actually recommend leaving this. Do not do this. And as you can see, it also has a note here. Help settings can be adjusted in character configuration, and I will show that in just a moment if you did happen to deactivate it. The reason why I suggest leaving that open is because there's going to be hints or tips along the way of features that you may otherwise miss. I know I left them on when I first started playing the game, and they really helped me notice things that I otherwise missed, such as limit breaks. Just saying. Anyway, so I do recommend leaving this on, and if you did turn it off, I will show you in just a moment how to turn it back on. Anyway, so following the instructions to move your character and adjust the position of the camera. When you're ready to proceed, speak to Wyman. And as you can see, there's also a play guide. Open the Final Fantasy XIV Lodestone play guide in your default web browser. I'm actually not going to do that because I don't need to. And there is also a button here on the hotbar, and that is what this and this is. These are in fact called hotbars. And as you can see, I just clicked on the 2 and the 1, not in that order, and move those. You can also lock this, so now I can't actually drag those out. And if I've unlocked it, I can now drag those out because that's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'm not going to do that to those. I am going to move those in a second though. And then I'm going to lock that. So in your character configuration, as you can see, there's a few different things, and this is called your HUD, heads up display. And this is important information that you'll want to see. And for example, we have this, the road to 70. Experience earned while below level 70 is dramatically increased. And this is a feature for new players to servers that are promoted, if you will, because of the lower player base sometimes. So if you want a speedier increase in experience, you want to try to find a server with this, and it will show you on that as well. It's not necessary to have this because the way you level up is pretty speedy as it is anyway. Anyway, so if we click on system here, and that's the XIV here, we have the character configuration. And if we take a look here, we have the movement settings, flying mount, chat mode disable, cutscenes, skipping, camera controls, blah blah blah. And then we have target, filters, character, and mouse. You can see on the left side here we have mouse mode and gamepad mode, and you can see that my hotbar just changed here, and this also disappeared because, well, I don't need that, but I'm changing it back to the mouse mode, and you can see that my menu thing changed, and the hotbars changed as well. And as you can see, it also saved where your hotbar positions are, so you don't have to worry about having to fix that if you move one for the other by mistake. And if you did happen to disable that feature, display active help windows, that is this thing here, and then display help text when using cross-type main commands, blah blah blah, and other things they can do. So if you don't want to ever access the play guide feature, and I honestly get annoyed with the pop-up thing too because I don't need it. It is a different form of text reading for explanation of various features in the game, and I do recommend taking a look at that if that is your preferred method of learning. I prefer visual and hands-on type of learning in this regard because it's harder to follow along in text without having an actual try to do it yourself sort of thing. Anyway, so you can disable that open upon login or open upon area change if you do actually want to see that. And then you can also make various other adjustments too. One other thing that I'm going to recommend doing is if we go back here to the control settings for the movement settings, the standard type, character base, or legacy type. So right now, if I use the W, A, S, and D keys, so W to move forward, S to move backwards, A to move the camera left, D to move the camera right, as you can see, that is how it's done. And S is literally me moving backwards. Now if we go back into the character configuration, and I change this to legacy type, and maintain camera distance, and active standard type, auto fly, auto dive, you can auto dive and auto fly. You can change that to your specifications. I recommend maintaining camera distance. Anyway, so moving forward works the same. Moving backwards, my character just turned and is now running forwards when I use the backwards. So it is actually, my movement is now based on the camera position. So if I turn the camera this way, if I hit forward, even though my character is facing this way, it is actually going to start running this way. Like so. And Wyman's warning me not to go too far because we actually need to finish the tutorial before we can actually play the game, and this is also, I assume, to try to catch bots from accessing the game. So anyway, so to demonstrate again, I have the camera facing this way, my character is facing that way. If I hit the forward button, so that's the W, it's moving this way. Now my character is facing that way, and if I hit the S, it actually turns around and runs towards the camera. Hey, I didn't move that far. Jeepers, mister. Anyway, so that's basically the keys with the differences with the legacy, and as you saw me changing the cameras, I'm using the left mouse button, or alternatively the right mouse button. I stick with the left one just because it's easier, because I reserve the right one for selection. And if you're on game controller, I'm not sure what the buttons are, you can probably jam them all and figure out which is what. Anyways, as you can see, as I approached Wyman here, we had initiating quests, and there's a question mark here. Well, if I click on that, it will say non-player characters NPCs offering quests can be recognized by the exclamation marks above their head. So as you can see with Wyman here, he has an exclamation mark. And the offers quests can be recognized blah 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 above their heads. Right click on the marker on the mark to bring up the quest window. You don't have to click on the marker, you can click on the character itself. And accepting the quest. Once you've initiated a quest, a prompt will appear detailing its objectives and rewards. Click on the accept button to the lower left to add the quest to your list of current duties. And before I actually collect or start that, and it has me initiating that again, so the reason why I'm actually showing the camera setting of this, because there is going to be some challenges and battles that you face if you stick with the normal form of battle. If you stick with the character configuration of standard type. So if we go back with this, so for example, we're in the middle of a fight, say, and all of a sudden there's an area of effect, or AoE, that a opponent has, and I need to avoid that, while the fastest movement is forward. But if you're in the middle of combat, and it's a circle, you're going to have to run a long way, or move left and right, and well, it's going to be a little more tricky. And backing up is also an option. However, as you can see, the movement of backing up and the movement of forward is significantly different. So I actually do recommend using the legacy type and trying to get yourself used to having to change the camera direction with your mouse. Alternatively, you can also use the arrow keys. I do recommend using the mouse though, because you're going to want to be using that for selection and targeting and other things. There are other buttons for that, but I won't get into that not in this video, but I will get that into the next one. And so we're actually going to select our first quest here, and you can see it's popped up this, and as you can see, I'm dragging it. And you can literally position these windows wherever you want. You can also resize them by right-clicking on this, return to default position, for example, scale the windows. So say we were wanting it to be that big, or we have super good eyesight and we shrink it down to that size, then 100% will return it to normal. I'm probably going to adjust this to be about 90% because of how big my monitor is. And likewise this as well, right click, and you can't just right click anywhere, you do have to right click on where you would see a menu bar, usually in like other programs, so it's similar with here and whatnot. So I am going to accept this in a second, but other things you will notice is your mini-map here, and you will see there are various things, and if you mouse over them you will also see this, and the blue little icon thing is your character, and you may notice a little triangle thing here. So yes, I know how to initiate the quests, blah blah blah. You'll see, so if I'm facing this way, you can kind of see it in this direction because that's the camera. So if I change it, you will maybe be able to see it moving. So now it's facing that way on the mini-map. And there's also the north, south, east, and west. And you can also adjust the size of the mini-map by zooming in or out. And then there's lock, unlock, mini-map, compass. So for example, if I change that, now the compass is moving with me. That is something I don't like. I like my north, east, south, and west being completely where they are. They also show you the weather report, so fair skies is our weather today. And this will also show you the server you're on, and you probably won't have mail unless you already have a character or you've been playing for a while. I'm not going to go through that, but you'll also see if you have mail up here. And this is also showing you your ping, so you're basically your connection to the server and the client and the signal from that. This is also showing my local time, so yes, it is 8:28 p.m. as of this recording. Anyway, so I'm going to accept this, and after you've accepted this quest, you will finish the tutorial and begin some of that, and I'm actually going to not talk about anything else in terms of the heads-up display right now. I'm going to be doing that in the next video, giving a little more details of things that you'll want to watch or pay attention to, things that you can adjust, that sort of thing, and also giving some beginner tips with each of the classes that you can begin the game with. I won't be going through the other jobs that are unlocked later on, such as Rogue, Dark Knight, Astrologian, Machinist, etc. So that is it for this video. Do you have any questions about things that I mentioned today? Or do you think there is anything that I missed in the video? Please share your comments or questions down below. That is it for this one. Thanks for watching!